Today, I'm gonna talk about the link between lucid dreaming and metacognition. So I think to begin with, it would suit us well to define what metacognition actually is. And there's a lot of mysticism about this word because it's really long and it sounds very scientific, but really simply put, it means to be aware of your own thoughts, of the fact that you are thinking, that you are having said thoughts at this very moment. But what exactly does it mean to be aware of your own internal experience? It includes your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, and the effects of current environmental elements. What that means is that you know how your environment is impacting your mood and your feelings. And it also means that you can separate yourself from your thoughts and feelings. This is also known as regulation, which is a really big pop psychology word at the moment. To be regulated, to be co-regulated, emotional regulated. This is kind of being thrown out there a lot, but it's not a new concept. In fact, in Buddhist philosophy, the idea of non-attachment relieves us from the cycle of entrapment that our thoughts can actually cause on us. In Buddhist philosophy, the idea that your thoughts are you is actually an illusion, and to be metacognitively aware is to be able to separate the two. So can we actually observe physically metacognition, or is it just sort of an elusive theory? So there are tests designed to test someone's metacognitive ability, and also we have done studies where we've looked at people engaging in metacognitive tasks and looked at their brain under an fMRI. And it's often associated with heightened activity in the frontal lobe. And the frontal lobe is usually involved in things like thinking, planning, and creativity. So I think now we'll move on to defining what it means to have a lucid dream or to be able to lucid dream. So really simply put, a lucid dream by definition is the awareness that a dreamer has that they are actually dreaming. So what exactly does it mean and what does it look like to be aware that you're dreaming? And this is kind of a hard question to answer because there are levels to awareness and they can be interchangeable throughout the dream, and your awareness of the fact that you're dreaming can change as you progress throughout the dream. It can go forwards and it can go backwards. You can have more awareness, less awareness. Anywhere from being on one side of the spectrum, you're totally convinced that you are who you are in the dream, you're playing a particular character, you are entirely sure that where you are now is reality, and you're not doubting anything that's around you, then to maybe feeling like you have a sort of weird feeling about what's going on, and you start maybe paying attention to your surroundings a little bit more. And then all the way on the other side of the spectrum is knowing that you are in a dream and using that dream to act out a particular goal. So we've seen that awareness in lucid dreams can come in levels, but what could we actually do to make it so we have lucid dreams? How do we instigate a lucid dream? So sometimes people have a natural and innate ability to do this, and this often happens when in childhood, where someone is more likely to be lucid dreaming, because lots of children naturally lucid dream. That ability never really goes away. And that does happen for some people, and it sort of just carries itself over to adulthood, and that person as an adult can have lucid dreams. So that's a natural sort of ability. But there are also ways of inducing it, like wake-induced lucid dreaming, where somebody tries to instigate having a lucid dream before they fall asleep. Maybe they have a process, or they have some mantras, or there is something that they do to try and make it so they'll be more likely to have a lucid dream. Or there's dream-induced lucid dreaming, where there's actions or protocols that you maybe try and remember in the dream to make it actually lucid. And on the other hand, from the studies that I've done, lots of interviews with people who do lucid dream, there are actually some adults that find their ability to lucid dream something that they can't actually turn off, and they're constantly lucid dreaming, and that's actually problematic for them. So again, there's a spectrum of how to induce lucid dreams, make somebody more likely to lucid dream. Physically, and this is where it gets really interesting, if you were doing an fMRI on somebody who was lucid dreaming, you would see quite a lot of activity in their prefrontal cortex, which is what we see when somebody's engaging in metacognitive processes. So that's a physical aspect. But the more mental aspects that I've noticed when I've been doing my studies on people who lucid dream is I noticed that a lot of people who lucid dream are highly intelligent people. That doesn't mean just like one form of intelligence. It could be like intelligent in a variety of different ways. So lots of different kinds of intelligences coming through. A lot of them are highly creative people. Again, in creativity in lots of different ways. That doesn't mean just an artistic person. And the thing that I've noticed like most often is the person has a considerable degree of self-awareness, even naturally, or that's something that they are interested in. So now I'm going to talk about my theories about the link between the two. And my first theory is pretty self-explanatory. Somebody who has practiced with self-awareness or has a lot of metacognitive ability is more likely to question the surroundings, the environment, the characters, and the prevailing narrative of their dream. So in the dream, they're more likely to start to question something that's going on, and them questioning that leads to the awareness that they are actually in the dream, which is what lucidity is. So this is sort of evidenced by my second point, which is increased functional connectivity. And studies suggest that a stronger connection between the prefrontal cortex and other areas of the brain during wakefulness is associated with more frequent lucid dreams. And this is what I suggested earlier when I said that the prefrontal cortex and the connection between the other areas of the brain is associated with metacognition and self-awareness, and it's associated with integrating information. So somebody with like these stronger measurable abilities are more likely to have the ability to integrate the information that they collect from their dream to realize that they are dreaming. So my third theory is that there is, just by chance, a correlation with people who are more metacognitively aware and lucid dreamers. And this is because somebody who is described as being more metacognitively aware is usually somebody who's interested in personal development and self-discovery, and has a bit of practice in those areas. And people that are more interested in that are more likely to be exposed or interested in areas of the subconscious like lucid dreaming, dream recall, journaling, and dream protocols. My final suggestion is that there is a link to childhood, and there is an involvement in childhood that leads to an increased likelihood of lucid dreaming and metacognitive awareness. If metacognitive capacity causes someone to be more likely to lucid dream, why is it that children who can't have developed proper metacognitive function are more likely to lucid dream? And I think the link here is that it's not that children are actually more self-aware than some adults. It's more that children who grow up lucid dreaming are more likely to be more inquisitive, and they're more likely to be sensitive, and they can practice this self-awareness in the lucid dream space. And that actually leads them to become more metacognitive adults. So, in summary, I'd like to just highlight that there's considerable evidence that links metacognitive ability and lucid dreaming, but in my opinion, one's metacognitive ability is not the reason somebody lucid dreams. Although it might make it more likely to happen through behavior repetition, or because you've strengthened the prefrontal cortex with the other associated areas. That might make it more likely to happen. But there are still a lot of underlying mechanisms that are to be investigated before we know 100% what causes somebody to lucid dream. But the link is interesting. So that concludes today's video, and I have moved to the kitchen because I decided to cook breakfast. Yeah, and to close, I just want to leave you guys with a quote from an author that I really like, and I've written it down because I can't remember anything about notes. The dream of nature is a complex web of mutuality in which each part supports the other. And I think that's really relevant to the topic of metacognition and lucid dreaming. Anyway, thank you all for being here, and I hope you enjoyed my video, and hope to see you again soon.